Hello, my name is Madden Pierce. I'll be covering the Deepwater Horizon oil spill. So in April 10th, 2010, the company BP had leased the Deepwater Horizon rig owned by Transocean, which was the world's biggest oil rig contractor. It cost $560 million to build, and it could drill as deep as 30,000 feet, which was a lot more than was needed for this project. They were pumping oil from the Gulf of Mexico. It was 5,000 feet above the ocean floor, and they had to drill over 15,000 feet into rock to reach the oil well. The rig was manned and operated by a different company called Halliburton, and the plan was to tap into the underground oil well, bring the oil up to the rig, and then cap it off with 3 cement plugs. It was the company Halliburton's job to operate this procedure, and then they were going to take the big Deepwater Horizon rig off and replace it with a smaller rig to actually pump the oil afterwards. In doing so, before the transition, the crew was doing positive and negative pressure tests to make sure that no hydrocarbon gases had leaked up into the pipe. However, even though the second test came back negative, the crew misinterpreted this and went on with the procedure, and sure enough, these gases had leaked up into the pipe, and after they went on, these gases exploded up into the pipe and caused the massive leak, and the oil ignited, causing the massive explosion and the resulting oil spill afterwards. The factors that led up to all of this are many, but the main ones come down to overconfidence, lazy practices, poor management, and money. So, first of all, 7 months before the blowout, the same rig had just drilled the world's deepest oil well at 35,000 feet, which was much deeper than this one was. So it seemed like they weren't covering new ground. However, even though offshore blowouts were fairly common, like decently common before that, there had never been one in deep water before. So the fail-safe equipment hadn't really been tested at these pressures. Also, the response plans that were published by BP were lazily made. They were clearly recycled from other projects. For example, it cited dead scientists and mentioned wildlife that doesn't even exist in the Gulf of Mexico. It seemed to be from a project they did in Japan prior to this. The money was also a big conflict of interests. For one, they were leasing the rig, so they had to meet deadlines. They had a lot of reason to cut corners and just pump as much oil as possible while they still had the lease. Also, the drilling data that would have been necessary to complete environmental reviews was proprietary. So the MMS, which is the U.S. Department of the Interior's Minerals Management Service, they did not have access to the exploration and drilling details. And BP made a lot of last-minute changes, which were approved too quickly. And these deadlines and all this caused a lot of rushing to happen. Also, the MMS had tried to implement a mandatory safety and environmental management program, but the industry had objected so hard that the program died. So, ultimately, what we can learn from this is safety cannot be rushed, and poor management can have deadly consequences. These safety standards had not been carefully planned. Enough research had not been done on this type of oil rig. They were using the same safety procedures that they had used on other oil rigs, which were not doing the same type of job at all. And these rigs were not under the same kind of pressure that this one was at this depth. So overall, they needed better contingency plans. They needed up-to-date safety standards and better management, because it was ultimately the crew misinterpreting this pressure test that caused them to continue on and cause the explosion. The crew was not managed well.